everyone. So today I will be continuing the conversation around practicing with emotions. I find myself inspired to do this as I look around the world and just see all of the repercussions of unchecked emotions and what happens when we don't know how to be with our own emotional world. Last week, I started to talk about bringing awareness to our emotions and just letting them be just as they are. And so today I want to continue with this for this week because this is just so foundational and transformative to be able to do this. So this happens when we look really directly at an emotion in a moment where we're experiencing it. Maybe we have rage flare up in our mind. What's the experience of rage? We look and we allow this to be there. It isn't that we're acting out of it, but we know rage is here. We know this is what rage feels like. It might be fire in the body, or a jumpiness, agitation, or a strong sense of righteousness. Many feelings can come flooding through, and we allow it to be there as it is. In doing so, there is an expression of deep acceptance where, often we feel like we have to keep the lid on these emotions or we're going to hurt somebody. And it's true that if we just totally act out of these emotions, then that's when we cause this distress, this pain. So we need to be there to let them be, to feel them, to know them, to just be present within the experience. And this allows our minds to find more steadiness. It's quite amazing, but it happens. And it allows us to see more clearly. We see the thoughts. We might see a thought, and often with anger, thoughts will escalate. But when we're aware of the thought, we could see it's just a thought. And we don't let that color our whole experience by that one thought. We don't feed it. It's just there. And we can see that's what's there in the mind. We can feel what's happening in the body. And as I mentioned, the body is just so great in being with emotions. I was once experiencing sadness and felt it so strongly. It came this welling up of sadness. And then there was this teardrop that came. And it was like the teardrop was so pure. It was pure sadness. And it just disappeared. It wasn't fed, it wasn't blocked. It just came and went. It was really quite extraordinary. And there was nothing left of it after that. Within this experience, we find the expression of love, allowing this to be there unconditionally as it is. Also compassion in bearing witness to something that often gives us so much strife in our lives. And in doing so, we're letting ourselves see what is here right now, what is present, and this is an aspect of wisdom or seeing clearly. So we let this all be reflected in awareness as it is. And we also see there's different components. Anger very much can be rooted in disappointment or a feeling of not being seen. We look, we see what's connected. And this allows all of this to come into the light of awareness. And we learn to just simply be with these emotions. And then we find we have a choice. It can be in the room, and yet we don't have to act out of it. We aren't hijacked by these emotions, which that's when they cause the pain and distress. So, it might also point to an action that is needed. We just start to see so much more clearly. It really becomes a very different experience than when we're completely caught up in that story of it and feeding it. Paying attention and being aware of the thoughts is really, really important. Because in one moment, a thought elicits anger, it arises, and we believe that thought. And then it gives rise to another thought of anger, and we believe that. And then before we know it, we have a raging bonfire happening. So rather, we can simply be with, see what's happening, brings the space for wisdom or seeing more clearly. And it's so freeing to become free of being dominated or controlled by these emotions, which is what happens when we aren't with awareness. There, of course, is times when it's simply too much. You know, whether it's really deep wounding that's complex, many causes and conditions there, trauma that we're carrying, it can just be too much to be with right now. We don't have the energy to meet it. And so, of course, we want to listen. We want to practice with kindness towards ourselves. And there's no need to force yourself to be with this. With emotions, you don't want to stay lost in them, thinking, I should be able to be with this. If you can't be with it, what can you be with? What can you be aware of? Really essential, because we're not here to just relive, replay all the harm we've experienced, but we're here to see more clearly. And you know, part of that seeing clearly is accepting that in this moment, this is just too much for me, but I can be aware of this. In these instances, we might look to see there's a lesser emotion that we can be aware of, or we might look to what can help support us to be aware. And that could be by going to some other experience, such as listening to sound, and then coming back to that emotion when we feel that we have more balance, more stability with awareness. Or, you know, sometimes rather than being with the emotion, be with the awareness, letting the mind be like the vast sky and the emotion a dot within this. Still there, but the lens has opened up, you know, just in that vast space of awareness. And the emotion, just a little dot there, not moving towards or away from. Or sometimes doing body scans is helpful. As we hold so much in the body, we can scan through the body with just this light touch of awareness that hits on sensations, feelings, emotions, whatever is there. And we just let it be for a moment and pass through onto the next. It's really a great training in letting be for just one moment. And it helps us to make friends with all of this. We can take all of this into our daily life activities. And this is, you know, we're in the thick of it. When we're, you know, in a conversation that triggers us, we can pick less interactive states if we're new to meditation, like driving in traffic, and just simply be aware of the impatience, the feelings in the body, the wanting to, aversion, or maybe there's appreciation. You can just use whatever happening in this moment and be with it and let the space open up. But if you're carrying a lot of emotional distress, it can be really helpful to be in touch with a meditation teacher or do a step-by-step program such as the one that Tergar offers. Or you might look in your local community to see what support might be present. Some terrain can be quite rugged. And so if so, you might also find that doing therapy alongside meditation can be really helpful. But do take care of yourself. Thank you.